In this video, I will be going over exactly whether or not you should use music when you're revising or when you're studying or when you're working. The short answer to that question is no. You should not be using music or any sort of stimulating noise in that sense when you're doing any work. And if you watch further into this video, I'll be explaining exactly why. But if you just want to click off, I'm fine with that as well. You should not be using any sort of music when you're working or revising or whatever. So if you want to know why you shouldn't, I want to start off with a story. Around a year ago, I was in year 12. If you don't know who I am a year 13 student, so like the final year of high school in the UK, and I'm studying maths, further maths and physics, and I've gone through a pretty big transformation. Around 3 years ago, I was quite obese. I got really poor grades and I didn't have like a very good work ethic, and I was kind of a degenerate as well. But now I think I locked in. But basically, around a year ago, I was doing my year 12 like final exams for a subject called computer science. And around that time, there was a massive beef that was happening in the rap world. So beef is like when two artists fight each other, not physically, but like through their songs, between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. And at that time, I'm ashamed to say that I was blasting all of their rap beef songs on the speaker I had in my room. And like, I can go back and I can pull out the video of like me in a computer science like group chat I made with some of my mates. And I was asking a question on the group chat and I had that like a song blasting in the background. And now looking back on it, that really deteriorated my study sessions or work sessions. Whenever I played music in the background, that really, like, it's hard for you to notice in the moment, but when you look back on it, it really affected my work sessions. Even if you don't, if you're like in your mind right now, you're thinking, oh no, like my study sessions or like my work sessions aren't that affected when I play music in the background. But I can tell you that like it really does, and you probably don't notice it. And I'm going to explain exactly why. So there's a reason why I dropped the subject computer science. I'm going to explain it like later on in another video, but the music I played in my room really like negatively affected my work sessions. So the way I stopped listening to music is I read a book called Deep Work by this guy named Cal Newport. In the book, he basically explains how to work, and this is a side tangent, but I'm actually making a full guide on how to work later on in the future. So I'm going to make like a massive video on something you were never taught in schools, which is basically how do you do focused work? How do you do actual like concentrated work? But in the book, he kind of goes over like music and stuff. And basically the reason why you shouldn't use music is this. There are two main types of work that you can do. There is either deep work or there is shallow work. If you have a goal in mind, so like we don't revise or we don't study for no reason, right? You don't just go and like do math revision for no reason. We have a goal of getting good grades or like whatever your goal is in any venture. For example, I'm recording this video right now so I can get more subscribers and I can provide more value to my audience in the future. You have a goal in mind, and the work that gives you the goal or the work that pushes you towards your goal is called deep work. If we take this in the revision sense, this could be doing practice papers, doing practice questions, doing Anki flashcards. These are all things that will help you get your grade up in the future. Now, the opposite to that is something called shallow work. Shallow work is anything that is like miscellaneous. It's like work that you have to do, but if you do loads of that sort of work, it won't get you your goal. For example, if I have to reorganize my notes in my like maths folder or something, no matter how, if I do that for 10 hours, I'm not going to get better maths grades, but it's something I have to do. So whenever we do deep work, whenever we do this deep concentrated work, that's when music should not be used. And the reason is this. When we listen to music, music helps us form emotional connections to certain things. So imagine I'm listening to like, who's a big artist right now? Imagine I'm listening to like a Nine song, or if you don't know who Nines is, like a Kendrick Lamar song, right? When he says some stuff, I feel an emotional connection to that. If I didn't feel any sort of, if I had no emotion to the song, I wouldn't be listening to the song. It would just be like background noise. And the reason this is bad is when your brain invokes emotion to something that isn't the work that you're trying to do now, it shifts your brain away from that. It shifts your focus away from that. So when I'm doing like the maths revision or when I'm doing the physics revision, and then I'm listening to Kendrick Lamar, whenever I'm listening to him, it's shifting my focus away from the work. That's giving me less brain power to focus on the revision at hand, and therefore this will cause like a knock-on effect which will deteriorate from my goal. This will weaken my pursuit to my goal. So just the TLDR of all of that is that when you listen to any music that's any sort of music that's enjoyable in any sort of way, when you're doing deep work, will shift your brain's focus away from the work to the music, and that will compromise your goal. You either have a choice to have enjoyment in the moment by listening to the music, or enjoyment in the moment and then compromising your goal, like potentially not hitting your goal, or hitting your goal, like getting the good grade or whatever, and not having that much enjoyment in the moment. But like the thing is, like when you do the work, you have the enjoyment, like you're in the flow state. When you're doing the math questions, you may feel this sometimes. Like you reach a level where you just have no thoughts in your brain and you're just focused on the maths questions or like whatever revision you're doing. That's the state we want to get to. And like people say that, oh yeah, but like music's enjoyable, or maybe you're not fun at parties, are you? Shut up, man. Like I'm on your side trying to help you achieve your goal. And by listening to music, you're weakening your pursuit to that goal. I wish someone had just sat me down like this and told me that like music is coping. Like people come up with like studies, like these weird like coping mechanism studies where they say that, oh yes, classical music has been proven to help you be smarter, or like listening to Mozart helps you be smarter. But in reality, you're just hiding behind that crutch that you have. You really want to enjoy the moment, that you wouldn't just like think about it critically and read books like deep work. You would just enjoy the moment and then compromise your pursuit to your goal, which is what I don't want you to do. I want you to hit your goals, and if this means removing music from the work session, so be it. So before this video ends, this isn't going to be like a massive video. I want to leave you with 3 things that you should remember when anyone talks about music whilst working. The first thing is, remember this thing of like, when I'm doing deep work, I should not have music because it takes away from my goal. Even if it doesn't feel like it does, even if it feels like it's such like an innocent thing, right? I'm just gonna put on some tunes so like I feel enjoyment in the moment. It seems so innocent, it seems so fun, but it does shift your brain's focus away from the goal. Like it does compromise your goal. It may not feel like it in the moment, but put this over time. I personally can say that 100% I would have got better, I would have got a better output if I didn't listen to that music whilst I revised. And I don't want you to make the same mistake. The second thing is, you can still listen to music. You can still like listen to music, but just not when you're doing deep work. So when you're doing shallow work, like when you're reading emails, when you're like organizing your notes in your folder, when you're, I don't know, what else can you do? When you're writing an email to your teacher, I just said that. Anything that doesn't push you towards your goals, then fair enough. You listen to as much Nine or Charlie XCX as you want. But just when you're doing deep work, don't listen to music. The third thing is that there are some noises that you can use when you're revising. I use something called brown noise. No, me speaking is not brown noise. Brown noise is basically like the way to describe it is like, it's like the noise that you hear on an aeroplane. So like when you're sitting on an aeroplane, the whirring noise, the static sort of noise that the plane makes, that's the best way to describe brown noise. It's basically this like static noise in the background that you can play that just filters out the background noise. So if you live in like a really noisy household, I do, like personally, I live in an Indian household, so like I hear like random shouting from across the household. And if I want to focus and like really lock in, I play brown noise, and this just like filters out the background noise. It just like removes the background like shouting and stuff. And this, I personally rationalize this as not taking away from my work output, because it helps me focus more. So anything that helps you focus more should be included in your work sessions. But anything that takes away from that should be brutally cut out. Like be as brutal with this as possible. I know a lot of people use lo-fi, like there's this genre of music called lo-fi. And I personally wouldn't use this because, again, it takes away from it. It's enjoyable, which means it will take away from the work that you're doing in the moment. I hope that this video has like made it clear that music is unacceptable when you're doing any sort of deep work, because it will compromise your goal. And if you want to see like my deep work video coming out soon, which is basically this massive video on how to actually work, go click on that. If you're watching this in the future and the work video has already come out, go watch that right now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Go and like subscribe and stuff. Bye bye.